Hey y'all, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. I am really excited to dive into today's topic because it is one that many of you guys have been asking us to address, and today we're going to talk about what we recommend. But before we dive into today's video, I did want to remind you all, which I say remind, but I don't even think I've announced it yet. So I want to tell you guys that we have got our spring Whispering Willow merch now available. I'm repping one of these really cute tank tops. So we created some new design. There is a saying I have that I absolutely love, and it's grow what sparks joy. And so we have added that on t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts. We brought back our chart design. In fact, I'm going to just throw some up here so you guys can see. This is one of our biggest launches we've ever done. So many of you guys have already supported us, but the pre-order is going to be closing on Friday, May 26th. So if you want to snag one of these limited edition Whispering Willow Farm merch, the link is going to be down in the description. You guys get it while the getting's hot. But without further ado, let's dive into today's topic and today's video that I'm super pumped to talk to you all about. So today's video is all about natural pest control. So you guys heard me right. Today we are going to explore natural pest control. Many of you might know we just recently became a certified naturally grown farm. I feel like this is when all the people should applaud. And we're so pumped about that because it just kind of has that stamp of approval, right? Hey, we are following organic practices. We are following practices that work in harmony with nature and not against it. And so because of that, that means we are not using any harsh chemicals. Like, say goodbye to harsh chemicals and pesticides, because that's not what we're about here on our farm. And we hope it's not what you're about on your farm either. In this video, I will share with you guys some natural ways to combat against those common pests you might find in your gardens without compromising the health of your plant, the health of the environment, and honestly just the health of ourselves as well. So we're going to be talking about companion planting. We're going to talk about some DIY insect sprays that I actually already made up and have been using for a minute just to make sure I have my stamp of approval. But we're going to be talking about a wide range of things that you can do to combat against those common pests that are safe, affordable, and easy for everyone to implement. I know that for many of us, that is our biggest setback, right? Is that, oh my gosh, you want me to do this thing, this 10-step process, and you have to do it for X, Y, and Z amount of time to actually see results. I want fast, I want easy, I want quick, I want effective, right? And I know many of you guys are probably thinking the same thing when it comes to natural pest control. And so I am hoping that these options today will resonate with you. You can immediately start implementing them in your gardens and combating against those pests naturally so that you have more food for your family and less for the pests. So for this video, I'm going to be hitting on 7 things you can do that are eco-friendly, they're good for the environment, and they are those natural pest control options. So I hope you are ready to jot down all this information and get started. The first up on our list is companion planting. Now this is a wonderful way to combat against pests naturally and organically, and also being eco-friendly and earth conscious, right? Because you can plant those things that will attract all those beneficial insects that will take care of all the pests. So let's say for your tomatoes, you want to companion plant with basil. Basil is going to deter those moths that end up laying the eggs for tomato hornworms, which is something many folks deal with. Or then you have borage, right, which is going to attract all those beneficial pollinators, which is going to prevent or knock down your pest issue, your pest pressure, if you will. And so you have to figure out which one are you leaning towards. Are you leaning towards something that's going to repel it? Are you leaning towards something that's going to attract those beneficials? I recommend doing a little bit of both. There are so many options, and a lot of times, these are things you're going to use anyways, right? If you're growing tomatoes, you're probably going to want to grow basil. They pair really good together with some fresh mozzarella. So there is so much beauty in doing this because you're able to interplant, right? So if you're limited on space, you're maxing out that space. You can use it as companion planting where you're either attracting or repelling something, but then it's all harvestable. Whether you're growing borage for, edible flowers or just for pollinators, or maybe you want to throw a charcuterie board, you have your basil for basil pesto or whatever. It's not things that you are just gonna grow for the sake of growing. These are all things you can still utilize. Even if it's a flower, marigolds are really great for companion planting. You can harvest those and make a pretty arrangement for your table. So for natural pest control, I think companion planting would have to be number 1 on my list because there are so many benefits that come from adding those into your gardens, I think you'd be really, really surprised. I would say when it comes to companion planting, just make sure you do your research. Figure out what you're growing, what's going to pair well with that, to really set yourself up. If you never dealt with tomato hornworms and you are, companion planting with something that is just going to combat against those moths, then that might not be your best bet. But let's say maybe you're dealing with aphids. You have aphids on your tomatoes every year. You're gonna wanna make sure that you're either planting something that's attracting those ladybugs so they can take care of that for you, or you're wanting to make sure that you are planting something that is going to repel those aphids. So identify what your problem is based off of years past, and then kind of let that be your guide as you're choosing what to grow. Number 2 for our natural eco-friendly pest control is a DIY insecticidal soap. This is really great if you have a small area because it's going to be super, super affordable. However, if you're growing on a large scale like I am here, having this little spray bottle doesn't make the most sense because my costs are going to add up rather quickly, and it's going to take me a lot of time to go through and spray all those. So we have certain things that we do. We have it in a massive backpack sprayer, but you can buy these glass bottles on Amazon. They're these amber bottles. I like to always make this up. I actually keep this made up in my cottage garden, which is a much smaller area, and I can go by and kind of spot treat. And so this is really great because it's going to, depending on what you choose, there's some great insecticidal soaps that will help with aphids and spider mites and just some of your common pests like that. So I'm going to share with you some of the recipes that I have been testing out here for the last few weeks and have found really great results in. The first one I made was a peppermint spray. So I did 10 drops of peppermint essential oils. I did 1 quart of water and a teaspoon of dish soap, and I mixed it together. And again, I talked about those strong smells. That's what's repelling the pest here. So the pests do not like peppermint, I have found, at all, and it works really, really good. Again, when you're making any sort of DIY insecticidal soap like this, you want to make sure that you're spraying early in the morning, late in the evening, spraying underneath the leaves where the pests are usually attracted to, and that's going to just deter them from wanting to come. They're probably going to smell it and say, oh nope, I'm out. And so I found that this actually has worked really, really effectively. And so if you're on a small area, you deal with those sort of pests, go ahead and try it, especially if you have all of the equipment and supplies on hand. Again, the peppermint is to deter, the water is to mix it up so you have solution, and the soap is just so that it sticks to your plants. So any type of soap is going to be fine. It's just to make sure that that solution adheres to the plants and actually does what it needs to do. So why peppermint oil? I talked about the pests don't like it, but I'm going to kind of nerd out on you guys real quick and give you the deets on why this is particularly a really good oil to use. You'll see a lot of DIY sprays with like lavender, which is also great, but peppermint's the one that I have personally tried, so that's the one I chose to share with you guys today. And so the peppermint oil contains compounds like menthol that will interfere with the pest's, sensory receptors essentially, so it makes it difficult for them to really locate where that food source is and try to, maneuver their way around the plant. And ultimately, it just acts as a natural deterrent. It creates an environment that those pests don't like. It kind of throws off their senses, if you will, and so that's actually a really good thing. And my favorite thing about using the peppermint oil is that it's safe, it's non-toxic, it's just a better option than those harmful chemical pesticides. It's not going to affect beneficial pollinators, insects. It's not going to hurt them, it's not going to kill them, and so it's just going to deter the pests. It's going to throw off their senses, have them going on a whirlwind for a second, and just kind of deter them from messing with that plant. But aside from that, it's a really safe option. It's more than likely something you already have on hand, and you can make it up really quickly. This is something I always like to tell people too. We do a lot of holistic herbal medicine, and anytime we tell people that, they're like, I tried that, it doesn't work. I'd rather go buy my stuff from the store. And if that's what you choose to do, by all means, go buy your stuff at the store. But it's not that it doesn't work. When it comes to a holistic and herbal approach, a natural approach, you're gonna have to do it more often and more frequently because it's not going to have all those other additives, all those other things, the chemicals particularly, that are doing that job. So when you are using this DIY insecticidal soap, you're going to want to reapply about every 7 days, versus if you were using some sort of chemical, you actually couldn't do that because you're going to burn up your plant. So it is good to know that that's not going to happen. You're kind of safe there. But if it's raining and it washes your solution off, you're going to want to reapply it. As you notice that the infestation starts happening again, or you're starting to see those pests, you're going to want to reapply it. I always tell people too, the best pest management this right here. So make sure you're checking your plants. Make sure that you're spraying it at the first set, you know, where you see these pests. Make sure you're doing it frequently and often just to stay on top of it. And so that's just kind of my, you know, pro tip on how to be successful with these sprays is, one, do it at the first site, you know, that you see the pest, and two, do it about every week or so, you know, as needed as well. Next up for our natural and eco-friendly pest control is Diatomaceous Earth. Now this is something that, again, you're going to want to apply this early in the morning, late at night. I used to use this all the time on our old farm because it just works so well for us for things like ants, slugs, snails, all those little slithery things that start at the base of your plant and just work their way up. And so that's what you do. You're going to sprinkle this around the base of your plants if you're particularly dealing with those types of insects. It works really, really great and is super effective. Another option that I think really goes unnoticed is insect netting, row cover. This is something that is going to cost more than some of the other options I mentioned to you guys today, but it's a one-time purchase. I've had my insect netting, my row covers, forever. You can also, here's a little pro tip, you can go buy Toll, pretty sure that's how you say it, the things that you make all the crafts with, you know, at a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's, and you can use this as like a DIY insect netting. I know, you know, for brassicas, we're always having to cover our brassicas because they just get damaged so bad by caterpillars. So if you can plant them out and immediately put row cover on it, you make sure that nothing's coming in laying eggs and going to end up being an issue. So this is a really great option. Like I said, it can be one of those one-time initial investments, but really look into that. If you really want to grow brassicas, this is something you're having to buy a lot, but you are dealing with one of these pests and you just can't figure out, or maybe a solution that you're making isn't working, or you're tired of hand picking caterpillars off every single day. Try to prevent it at the onset. As soon as you transplant those things out into the garden, immediately put some sort of like wire, make little hoops. You can use PVC pipe. We use 9-gauge wire because it is the most cost effective. We buy a big roll and we cut it ourselves to size, which I find is the best for your budget. And then we do have actual insect netting and we clamp it down, but like I said, you can find that craft tool and use that as well. This is going to help tremendously, especially if you're doing one of those sprays before you put it on, just to ensure that you are, you know, dealing with any pests that might have previously been there, which is why I really recommend you do this as soon as you transplant your babies out, or even if you direct seed and you see the first sprout, cover it. This works great. If you aren't wanting to do any sort of maintenance, say maybe you don't want to have to come out here and spray your natural, pest spray, or maybe you don't want to have to plant extra companion plants, that's totally fine. You can do this. It can be really, really effective. In fact, we implement, row covers in here, insect netting, every single winter because we grow a lot of brassicas. We know this is a pest that we deal with, and so we just go ahead and prevent it at the beginning of the season. In fact, this year we are actually going to be putting insect netting where our sidewalls are. So you can see our sidewalls here, and we're going to have insect netting. That way we still have good airflow in here, but we're not dealing with those pests because I want to make this as easy on myself as I can. If I can eliminate it, that's going to be the best for us. Another great option can be essential oils. I shared with you guys an insecticidal peppermint spray you can make. I talked about the strong scent, why it's a great one to use. There's also other really good strong scents that deter those pests naturally. Citrus is a great one. Lavender is a great one. You can swap out the peppermint and use these other oils. You can do a quick Google search, Pinterest search, and find these DIY recipes for these. And if that's something you have laying around, or it's something that you can order a, cheaper value of essential oil online, maybe that you wouldn't use for personal use, but you can have on hand for garden use, I think that's a great option as well. Now let's talk about those beneficial insects. I'm hoping that companion planting is going to be one of those things, intercropping as I like to call it, and so you are naturally attracting those things, but that is going to be really a good option. If you are attracting those beneficial insects like those ladybugs, like praying mantises, they are going to do a lot of the maintenance for you. Now, I will say, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I'm not sure, I am 1000% against buying beneficial insects and having them in. I am guilty of this. I remember when I first started gardening, I would order ladybugs online and have them sit here, and I'd come release them in the garden, and then the next day they're all gone. These need to be native to where you are. So I actually really kind of teach against, you know, buying these things. You can even buy praying mantises and have them shipped to you. You want to attract them naturally. You want them, you know, to be in their native environment, because that's when they're going to really thrive, in my experience. And I've talked to a lot of people who have similar opinions as me. If you can just find a way to attract them and get him here, they'll find the things to feed off of. If you have, you know, I've been seeing a ton of ladybugs in here because I have aphids already, particularly on my spinaches. And so when you start having those issues like the aphids, then you'll start noticing the ladybugs will show up. And so they found that there's food to feed off of, they'll keep coming back. And so it's really not buying those beneficial insects, it is really trying to find a way to attract those beneficial insects, because if the pests are there, they will be there and they will stay there until they have fixed the problem. And so I find companion planting, adding a lot of different flowers, herbs, things like that are going to be really beneficial to handling your pest control naturally. And the last thing we're going to talk about are natural traps. Now, I will say I had to dig back in the archive. We have got such a really good system here, but I do recognize that we are growing under protected culture, meaning primarily we're growing all of our vegetables in a high tunnel. So we don't deal with a lot of the elements that some of you guys might be dealing with if you're growing outdoors. But we used to only grow outdoors, and so I get it. I have had a lot of those pesky, you know, insects and pests that I did not want, and I had to try all the things. I have tried the beer traps for slugs. I have found that the sticky traps for like the flying things worked really well. Like I mentioned with the DIY insecticidal spray, there are like pheromone traps that you can do which help kind of deter those things. And so I would encourage you guys, if you are wanting to kind of further deep dive into that, if you have a specific pest that you are dealing with, do a quick Google search and figure out what is a DIY trap I could do. I was very impressed with the beer trap. That worked really well for us. We dealt with slugs at our previous property really bad. Right now we're testing out some issues because we deal with ants really bad. So I'm currently trying to figure out what's a good solution for this that is natural, that's not going to be harmful to anything, particularly my food, and also you know, I can do being certified naturally grown as well. And so I'll kind of give you guys an update on that, but figure out specifically what your, you know, issue is. Make sure you're, you know, reading and doing your own research. Do what you feel comfortable with. Each of us are probably going to feel a little bit differently on the things that we are comfortable with and we aren't comfortable with, but just figure out what works best for you. But if you are dealing with pests, guess what? You have now earned your badge of honor as a gardener, because if you think you're going to have a pest-free garden, let me tell you, it's not going to happen. But you do not have to fret about it. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go buy harsh chemicals that are going to, you know, be harmful to you and harmful to the environment. There's a lot of natural, eco-friendly. I just hit on 7, you guys. 7 out of probably thousands of options, because these are the ones that I have tried. I've made the soaps. I've companion planted. I've added insect nettings. I've attracted those beneficial insects. I've made the DIY traps. I've done these things, although I'm not currently doing them because we're hard pruning. We're doing a lot of other preventatives, which would be one that I would say should be top of your list. If you want less pest and less disease, you have to create an environment where those things do not thrive. And for us, that looks like hard pruning our plants. And so we hard prune our cucumbers, we hard prune our tomatoes. We are hard pruning everything we can to allow the best airflow, good air circulation, and honestly just to lessen the pest and disease pressure. Now, I just mentioned we have aphids. Last year we actually didn't have a single tomato hornworm, but right now I've got a sea of kale over there I harvested for a delivery I made earlier, and I'm inside washing off caterpillars, right? So if you are gardening organically and naturally, you have to know that you are going to have those things. So you can either plant extra, or you can find a natural and eco-friendly way to maintain and control pest management. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it encourages you that you can actually grow food and combat against those pests naturally. And don't forget to grab your Whispering Willow merch. It ends Friday the 26th. So if you would like to purchase one from the shop, don't forget the link will be down in the description below. But thank you all for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you soon.